Welcome to Book Bar Mini. This is our fourth episode from the Conversation with Author series. We have a very distinguished guest today, the author of the book Empowering Emotional Awareness by Pinky Kansara. This book, I'm just going to get straight into it. I like that. Really enjoyed reading it, and it is so powerful and so transformational, and I think I couldn't be more excited to talk about this with you because this came at a very important time in my life. And it is so simply written because I've read a lot of books around this topic, and the idea of writing something simply and to tell this story so that it's relatable is, I think, extremely important.
Thank you.
So this is going to be our conversation, and how we're going to construct this is Pinky will introduce herself. I'm not going to introduce you because we always let our audience talk about what they do, and then we'll directly get into the chapters. I have some very specific questions regarding a few chapters which we'll talk about, and we have an audience today, so we'll have questions. I'm sure everyone will want to ask questions about this topic, empowering emotional awareness. I think very important, very critical. So welcome, Pinky. Looking forward for this conversation.
Thank you, first of all, Avnish, and entire Book Bar team for having me here. This is my third event since the book has been out, and I find this to be completely a very humble place, and since I met your team, it's making me feel very comfortable and at home first. Myself, Pinky Kansara, I am an author of my second proud book called Empowering Emotional Awareness. My journey, Avnish, starts, I'm Indian born and brought up in Mumbai. I come from a very humble family background. We have 5 sisters, so that was a challenge that my parents had in those times of life, where, having 5 daughters, one after the other, where they always wanted a son. And since my family, close ones, they always had cousin brothers and everyone. So. Somewhere, my parents never said that, but I think we sisters could see that pressure our parents had in, not having a son. And I think since childhood, that was something within we sisters then, to do something in life, to be someone like the men would do things around, make a place for yourself in the professional world. And something my father never forced either of my sisters to ever be married, because even in those days, he was never with that mindset that marriage is something a girl's final destination. So no matter, he wasn't much educated in those days, but that was a belief he lived with, that the girls are not required to be married only to do things. Of course, all my sisters fell in love deeply with their husbands and they all got married. Not that I was never in love, but I think I was more in love and I was more committed to my work. And I was married to my work in that sense. So I had a very, we never went to any convent school because, educating 5 girls in those days in 70s was not an easy task, Avnish. And we all sisters had very less age gap. So taking care of our education then, making sure that we all stand on our feet, having the pressure of not having a son, coming from a Gujarati family with the pressure they had from their, immediate family members. So with all that, I think we had a very humble upbringing overall, and since then I think after passing my school, my college, then those days we didn't have much choice, Avnish, with careers. You could either become a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher. Those were the professions then. You didn't really have a choice of professions or for advanced studies or something then. So after that, of course, I started working when I was 23. From then till date, I have always worked non-stop, and I think that keeps me going, that fuels me within. The day I'm not working, I'm depressed. I want to work. That keeps me going overall, because there's a lot of I feel I get a high when I work overall. So coming from a corporate background of 27 years, again, not the corporate in that sense of, hire and fire. I come from a very humble background of the corporate world also. I've been a leader where I've taken care of HR team from 400 to almost 4,000 team members. So my mother instinct was very strong with my teams. How are they supposed to wear their shirt, their belt? From those things I've started with my team. So that was another very painful transition of my professional life also. But I think God always puts you where you are meant to be and what is best for you. So I think with my intentions and everything. So I had my own struggles when I lost my mom in 2019. Within 10 months, I lost my father in 2020. So that trauma stayed back, and it was very difficult to heal through that. Then I had we had COVID at that time, pandemic. So I was again, left isolated because my sisters nobody was in from that city within. So that was an isolation I was living with. Then I went to my professional painful transition. So one after the other, there were like chapters in my life, last 4 or 5 years, that really, really shook me then. And I think after losing your parents, sometimes it's not only about the loss of a loved one, but Avnish, there's so many things that you are associated with, the memories that they have, the things in the house. So when I was clearing and we were going through that process, me and my sisters, of, setting things away from the house, that feeling made me so humble that what are we really fighting for? What are we really trying to hold on to? Because one final day, everything that my parents loved was there, left there. Something my mom would keep saying, "Amaruche, this is mine." I had no belonging after she left. So those kind of realizations come to you when you actually go through life. Like both my parents, they have actually, said their goodbyes final on my laps. So that's not a very, easy thing for any child to take, no matter how old you are. It's not easy. So those were the hard times that I went through. I've been a Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy. I'm a practitioner. I'm also a therapist. I've also gone certified counselor. But in my corporate world, that was not required. Those certificates were not required because anyways, I was in HR, and certificates actually don't matter to you, Avnish, unless you have practically done something. So you could have the best of degrees, but you have not had the experience to, practice and execute them. Then really has no meaning. So I was blessed to be in the area of HR. I think I was, fortunate enough where God put me to the place which could bring out emotions. So setting up HR team, doing everything, it's so hard to even put up that I only had one senior that was a respected founder and almost my father's age. So when people ask me what are your rewards and everything, I have no rewards to show because there was no senior. I couldn't tell my respected founder कि मुझे certificate दे दो. There was no department head for me. I was the one. There was no HR for me because I was the one. So we come from a different humble background that we come from. Right. So when it's very hard for people to understand that. Because the immediate result is अच्छा क्या awards है, क्या certificates है. I have no certificate in my life ever, because there was nothing that I could achieve in that sense, because professionally it was a different setup where we were coming from. Right. So that's been my journey. Do you want me to mention how I started my first book also?
So yes, definitely. But when your parents passed away and when COVID happened, were you still working as a professional?
I was there. I was associated at that time. I was till 2019. Yes, I was. 2020 mid, I was a little away with my corporate work. So I was there at home, taking care of things around. I again resumed myself into 21 mid, and 22 mid final. I said goodbye.
So all of this fueled you to want to write, so to speak? Or was it always something which was building over the years, which came to a point where you were like, okay, the small things which keep getting deposited every day, which kind of build, and it comes to a point where you realize that, okay, I don't want to do this, but now I want to do this, and it doesn't matter where this road goes, but I've reached that point. Was it in between all of this? Because when you lose a loved one, and you said rightly, you have to first navigate it yourself. You have to start practicing all the things which you have learned over the years, your values, your upbringing. All of it comes to that point where it's tested the most, right? And did that influence you to write?
I'll sound it like this, when anything that you go through in life, a trauma or a loss or a grief or a kind of an experience that you never wished had happened to you, how you react and how you respond at that time, it talks about your everyday investment in yourself, Avnish. So sometimes people lose themselves, they overreact, they get into revenge mode, they get into depression, they get into kind of a toxic attachments with drinks and substance and stuff. That is because not that they couldn't handle the situation then. Somewhere back of their mind, subconsciously, they were building that. So when you get into any kind of a challenge in your life, what has been your daily investment in yourself, your values, your integrity, your upbringing, your thought process, your intentions, everything will matter when you handle a situation.
Right.
So it's like taking an everyday vitamin, and that shows when you are going through certain kind of a body challenge or physical challenge, what has been your intake every day. Your intake matters, and that's why we say every day of life matters, which people don't take it very seriously.
Right.
We only try to see the milestones. आपकी जिंदगी में milestone कितने आएंगे अवनीश? Your college passing out, maybe a great job, maybe a great vacation, your marriage, your child. After that, गिन के भी एक individual की life में 10 milestones हो सकते हैं, big ones. उसके बाद it is your daily achievements which will take you where you need to be in life.
Right.
Coming to the point, I've always been a very self-expressive person. I think from all my sisters, I'm the most expressive person when it comes to what. So when I talk about alignment, what you think, what you feel, and what you say has to be in line. That's called alignment.
Right.
And this is exactly what I've been as a person always.
Right.
My face will show what I feel within. It's not very complicated for anyone to make it out what I feel because I say it out. So when I went through all those things which were getting bottled up in my emotions, because I've always been a very responsible person in the family. So my dad, I was never pampered by my dad. My younger sister was apple of eye for him. But when it came to responsibility, it was always me the tick mark in the family. So I think those things did not allow me at some point, Avnish, to say it out also that I'm feeling lost, I'm feeling scared, or I need love, or I need support. I think I was bottling up my emotions because I had a lot to do after they left when it was property or the other things that were supposed to be taken care. Because I suddenly became the son of the family also because I carry his name today. So that things also कहीं ना कहीं आपको suppress कर देती है कि आप अपना दुख दिखाई नहीं पाते हो क्योंकि आपको लगता है कि नहीं, other things are more important than your grief right now. So that gets suppressed. So after my mom, that got suppressed. After my father, that got suppressed. After my COVID times being isolated in that environment with trauma back to back, that got suppressed. Clearing the house, getting away from their memories, remaking the house. What is the challenge as a woman alone? That got suppressed. My professional transition, I suppressed because my team was looking up to me. I never wanted to show my grief to them. I wanted to show that I'm a hero and someday they can walk the same path in their life. All that suppressions, I had to bring it out somewhere.
Right.
So then started the journey when I was never a reader. I never had time to read books, Avnish, because I had a very busy schedule. After 22 mid, I was lost. I said life doesn't give me any purpose because I was always a very high action oriented person. Suddenly I had a morning where I didn't have to go anywhere. I felt lost.
That void was there.
Complete emotional void, and that's what people don't look into. The people feel emotional void can be taken care, but the challenges of emotional void can be very deep, whether it's a man or a woman. I've never seen gender emotions can be different for a gender.
Right.
That's a wrong preconception that we have. So that is the time when I was feeling that void, that empty, and I didn't know how to, because I was always a giver in that sense, Avnish. Giver to my parents, they were like my children's, giving it at workplace also. So suddenly I felt I was not required, I was not needed. There was something which made me feel that, okay, now what do I do in life? I don't have a family, physical family anymore with me. Although I was blessed with wonderful sisters, but that is the time when I felt, okay, now what do I do? How do I contribute? Because I've always been a contributor. So now what do I contribute? And then I told myself, if somebody like me, who's been so successful in the professional career, who's been so much successful, as a emotional person that self by being a practitioner, understanding psychology so deeply, if I, at this age of my life, that too, how if I could not, navigate my my emotions in the right way, imagine the other people around.
Right.
So I said, I owe this to the world back because I've got so much of love. And Avnish, I'm loved so much. And I touch wood, I'm blessed to be saying this, and it's just not blood relations. I'm loved by the people around me. So when I was loved so much, I felt what can I give back is only love in return. That's all I have within me. So that's where I started writing. And I had to somewhere, inspire my team even after being away. And social media came like a second innings, a blessing to me. So when people talk about social media, all the negativity, I say it can be a blessing for you if you know how to use it in the right constructive way. So for me, social media became a way to connect to people, to put my work out, to express myself. So I started writing on Facebook and everything. वहाँ से मेरी journey start हुई of writing for my first book called Belong to Yourself.
Right.
Because that's also my brand, because I live with that philosophy of my life called Belong to Yourself. So I went ahead, I took a copyright of my logo and so all that things I did, and it just kept happening one after the other. Sometimes you don't plan too much, और जो आप planning करते हैं ना कभी बार होता ही नहीं है. And something which are unplanned are the best things to happen to your life. So sometimes you have to allow life to happen,
right,
because it's meant for the best for you, I feel. वहाँ से my journey started of writing, and I never knew I had this creative talent in me, Avnish. I was surprised. I surprised my own self. So surprising everybody else was okay, because I never knew I had that hidden talent in me, because I'm not a painter. Of course, I love music. I love flowers. Those are the things which I love. But कभी सोचा नहीं था कि लेखक बन जाऊंगी, author बन जाऊंगी, and writing will become like a career or something. But then that's what it was meant to be. अगर corporate में रहती तो statistics figures में ही घूम जाते,
right,
but so this is beautiful. I think this community which I'm enjoying now from last 3 years, the authors community, very humble, very real. People are not afraid to put their emotions out as authors.
Right.
So this is a beautiful, and whereas corporate where you see everybody is masked because they are not allowed to be themselves, and that's the saddest part when it comes to working, because brother sister के बीच में झगड़े होते हैं, husband wife के बीच में. We have therapy for couple therapy, we have therapy for children's, we have therapy for all the relationships. Workplace, no therapy. Boss and colleague, no therapy. Do whatever, but so those were the things I said I have to bring out of my career. If I've had a professional career for all these years, and today I have the liberty of not going back to the corporate and talking the things which are required for the awareness, then I must say it out.
So that kind of made you start your writing journey. I think it shows in your book, as I've read it. This is the second read for me, and I always feel that you read a book once without really thinking too much, and then you come back to it chapter by chapter to be able to apply. That's how, if you like the book, that's how you approach the book, right? So my relationship with the book is pretty much the same. Like when I read it the first time, it was like a quick read, and then you come back to each chapter and try to dissect it. So this book, I think we'll get into understanding the chapters and how you've constructed it. But one thing which I realized is that it is centered around leadership. And this is what I was thinking, that usually we have always been taught that being a leader is always an acquired place. Like, you have to be a CEO or a VP, or you have to be somewhere to be able to claim that you are a leader, right? But if you also look at it from a different lens, you can be a leader wherever you are, right? It doesn't matter which professional role you have. Of course, professional leadership requires skill sets, but personal leadership, like, I may not be a CEO, but I may be just an executive, but I am a leader in my family. I am doing things, I'm taking decisions, I have to be accountable for those decisions. Leadership also is that. And I think somewhere people need to also know that it's not necessarily a corporate thing or a captain. You don't need to be a captain to be a leader. You can be an everyday human being and still empower yourself to be a leader in your community, right? So with this in mind, I think let's talk about how these chapters are broken down. Of course, the first chapter is gratitude, and I think that's a great starting point for letting people understand what gratitude really means. And in this world of too much of information availability and social media, how do you cut the noise and center yourself and really try to figure out what does vulnerability mean, for example. It's such a open-ended question today. People don't know what vulnerability is. Something which we've written about coping and growing. People wear coping as a honor, like a badge of honor. You're coping, that means you're doing something great, which is fine. But what is the nuance between coping and growth? Where is that slight movement which happens, right? So I would love to know more about all your chapters. And
so should we start with leadership, or you want me to start with gratitude? What would you want me to talk first? There's everything I can tell me what is that you would want to listen first.
What topics did you select? Let's
say gratitude. Usually अगर gratitude को एक subject में लाते हैं
जी,
anything that happens in your life, सबसे पहले हमारे साथ क्या feeling आती है? I don't have this. We start seeing what is not there in your life when you have a loss, your grief. अब सबसे पहले आपकी life में ये feeling, why are you more sad? Why are you more depressed? Because you feel you have lost something. Grief है कोई experience बुरा हुआ जो नहीं होना चाहिए था. So that those times you feel you don't have something, there's a vacuum, there's an emptiness. वो टाइम पर अगर आपने gratitude को practice किया, so the real need of gratitude is when you don't have something. So when people say gratitude, of course, when you have good money, good family, good holidays, good education, we all are grateful for that, and absolutely we practice gratitude. But when things have not been fair to you, when you have gone through trauma, when you have gone through challenges of your life, क्या तभी आप gratitude practice कर सकते हो? Can you see the good in the bad also? So when we lost our parents, the only thought process we sisters went back was, okay, during the COVID we lost our parents, but they did not go because of COVID. So we could do their last final rituals and everything. That said, a lot of gratitude. So whether should we sit down and cry that they went, that we've had the loss, or we had a choice to say, God, we are very thankful that we could do the last rituals. They took the last breath in their house, and with so much of love around of every sister. So even those challenges, अगर आप gratitude को practice कर सकते हो, that's called gratitude. And gratitude again comes to you every day with your values. Are you valuing what you have, whether it's a cup of coffee, whether it's going by your vehicle, what you are going through? Physically being able to take care of things yourself, process it. When you look at the other people with challenges, you should only be saying thankful every day. So whether you don't have the body that you need, maybe you don't have the 6 packs that you need, so whether you're going to be sitting down and crying about it, cribbing that I don't have a 0 size, or are you going to be grateful that I'm healthy, I can function, I can do my things by myself, I can walk the distance that I need to. So gratitude is in everything. आप जो खाना भी खाते हो, people cannot even eat. They have money, they cannot eat because of their illness or challenges. So when you're eating food, are you being grateful that you can pick up the spoon and take the food within and digest that food and chew the food? Every little thing in life, if that teaches you gratitude, Navneesh, तब जाके आप life में जब loss होता है आप उसमें भी positivity ढूंढते हो.
But is gratitude a skill set? What if I don't know that I need to be grateful? Maybe I do, but I don't know how to articulate. So many people may not understand what gratitude means, and how do you practice it? So does it become a skill set? Because to empower emotional awareness within, there needs to be a practice, right? Somewhere, if I need a fit body, I need to work out, for example. There is a certain methodology to all of this. There are certain habits which one needs to put, right? So when it comes to things like gratitude, things like vulnerability, while yes, it should come from within, but how do you practice it then?
That goes your everyday life investment. So from childhood, what are the values that parents teaches us? कि यहाँ पे पैसे मत खर्च करो, be grateful. So every day you're learning something. So as you correctly said, अगर आपको 6 packs चाहिए तो आप जिम में जाके वर्कआउट तो करोगे, आप बैठ के तो खाली नहीं बोलोगे कि ये हो जाए. You put efforts in life. After the efforts, you might not get the result that you always wanted, but yet you are grateful and thankful that at least been able to do what I'm supposed supposed to do. Results are not always in our hand to have the end results. So gratitude is something where, even if there are a lot of young members, बहुत easily हम बोलते हैं I'm very grateful. आपको कोई चीज़ नहीं मिली तो आप grateful feel करते हो क्या? You wanted a certain admission in a college. You could not get through that. Of course, it's a very sad feeling. You did all your best. But then are you been able to see the positivity in the other college that you got the admission, been able to be grateful and make the best of it where you are? In life, the challenges, I might want to go to Rome and Paris, but if I cannot go by going to Mahabaleshwar also, am I being happy? Or am I going to Mahabaleshwar and feeling miserable कि अरे मुझे तो Paris और London जाना था? So that is called gratitude कि आप वो situation में जाना चाहते हो, but अगर आपको नहीं मिलता है, आप जहाँ पर हो जिंदगी में, are you grateful?
तो शुरुआत वहीं से होती है. बाकी that's the reason why it's the first chapter in your book. I would like to read out the chapters because I find that very interesting, and even for the audience here would like to know. The first chapter is the power of gratitude. The second is you don't have to find all the answers at one time. I think such a great topic because today, because of social media, everyone feels they have access to everything, and it's the age of quick fixing. Like you read something and you feel that that's the solution, right? Maybe it's the age of asking more questions and not answers. So third is pretending is a disease. Again, very interesting. I'm just putting it in the context of social media, and especially the younger generation who are like born on Instagram. They don't know otherwise. Yeah. So what do you do when you're like literally born on Instagram? You are hanging out with your friends in your direct messages,
and you can't
in
blame
stories,
them.
In the facade of things, right? You
can't blame them. True. Yeah.
Then is acceptance of what you cannot heal. Then it's not about coping, it's about growing. Then we talk about rejection, then emotional clarity through vulnerability, then you move on to childhood traumas, again a very important connect if you have
Which is not a defense mechanism.
Right. And the, understanding relation dynamics and their impact on self-worth. Yeah. And lastly, letting go, which is also a very, very important aspect of it. So, I think I have so many questions for every topic.
I'll help you out.
Yes, I think.
So coming to the second one, the second topic was supposed to be about, there's so many things I've written, I myself have to go through that.
I think coping and growth, that's a very...
Okay, you don't have to find all the answers now. This is something in आज के हर एक contest में हम खाली social media पर डाल देते हैं. I think that's become a very convenient way for people to say my children is not behaving because of social media. Social media is a very helpful tool if we know how to use it in the right possible manner. Today, just because people have nothing to do, they are browsing Instagram, scrolling up and down, and that is the reason people cannot be even for 5 minutes alone with themselves. Avnish, 5 minutes में एक इंसान को आप अकेले छोड़ दो, वो खाली मोबाइल पे रहेगा, वो कुछ नहीं कर सकते. So today, that has been the mindset of people, and there are so many things around you. हर चीज़ में आपको experts दिखते हैं आजकल social media पर, from your beauty to body to studies, academic को ले लो, food को ले लो, just name it. There are experts everywhere. So you feel as a human being, मुझे तो ये भी नहीं आता, ये भी नहीं आता, मुझे ये भी बनना है, ये भी बनना है, ये भी बनना है. You are burning out yourself. We in school also we only had 6 subjects. You had to choose your 6 subjects. School never forced us to have 50 subjects. So as a human being, your brain has a capacity. Your heart can only, take things which are required emotionally. तो जब आप इतनी सारी चीज़ों के साथ हो, तो आपको emotions कहाँ से आएगी? Attachment कहाँ से होगा? Because you want to be everything, and that's not possible in today's time. So you are somewhere you have to be okay to say, I don't know this, I'm sorry, but I'm ready to learn and come back on this. I don't need to have information of something that I'm not meant to. It's not my area. So today, if you ask me about your cafe, great, I love to go and have a coffee, but उसमें क्या जाता है, क्या बनता है, don't want that lessons because that's not my business and I'm not running it. You know what I mean? So today people are getting into so much of detailed information that they are burning out themselves, because when people sit across, आज के date में wisdom is supposed to be knowledge. There's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is because where you have the outer, information about everything. Wisdom is not information. Wisdom is your feeling. Wisdom is how you have gone through your experiences. Those are your wisdom. तो आपने wisdom को, people are not going through wisdom, knowledge में खुश हो जाते हैं. Oh, that person is great. उसको ये information है, वो information है, great. What has been the performance score of that person when there was a challenge in life?
Right.
So आज मुझे, when I went through trauma, history, geography, biology, algebra, जो भी मैंने सीखा था, nothing came to help. So education makes you aware, that brings you awareness, agreed. But it is your life experiences which help you. So आज wanting to know too many things, like when I stepped into social media, and I was never a digital person, I was never there on any of the social media handles. Me coming there was, I was lost like a baby. I said Instagram भी करना है, LinkedIn भी करना है, YouTube भी करना है, and I said I need to know so much, and that started burning out. For first year, I was actually burning out myself on social media, because I had to look a certain way, talk a certain way, have the particular information. Then that awareness came in. Then I went inward and I said, Pinky, what are we doing? Whom are we trying to impress? What is it going to change anyways? आप एक खाली मामूली इंसान हो, कल आप नहीं भी रहोगे ना, जिंदगी में कुछ बदलने नहीं वाला है. So what are you taking back? Are you satisfied? Are you feeling fulfilled with what you are doing? Then you have to understand and know कि I don't need to know everything. I can only need to know little. तो जैसे जैसे जिंदगी आपको आगे ले जाती है, if today I'm in this area, I'm in this community, I will learn about this community. If tomorrow I'm going somewhere else, I'll take those lessons. So let us be open to learning rather than learning everything at one time.
I think that's a very interesting nuance, open to learning rather than learning everything at one time. And I think this is also connected with a little bit of people go and take validation from social media. It's connected with pretending, and as you said, if I am in a group of people, I'm having a conversation. If I don't know something, there's a fear of missing out, right?
Exactly.
The word FOMO is never been so relevant today than ever, right? And that is where comparisons happen. That is where you start coping, you start pretending, you start being someone who you're not. And I see that a lot, and it's not only about the younger generation. I think it's across the spectrum.
I think the younger generation is more transparent. Let us put it that way. I think the earlier generation was great in pretendance. I love today's generation. Like my 9-year-old nephew will have the courage to say, Masi, aapko ye bhi nahi aata, and I know this. So I feel they are upfront and much more honest than the other generations, I feel.
So is everyone coping today then? ये सब coping mechanisms ही है,
Everything is coping, and that is the reason we are not being able to bring that change we need within ourselves now, Nish, because change is a very uncomfortable process. Changing anything बहुत आसान है. अपने बच्चों को हम भाषण दे देते हैं, अरे ये change करो, ये practice करो, और आप करके दिखा दो. You be somebody. So leading is what you do. You show by action. You have to show the change. Don't talk about the change till you have not done it. So आज की डेट में भी हम चेंज को लेके, कोपिंग को लेके, हर चीज़ को, जिंदगी को ऐसे ही चलाते जाते हैं. चलो ये भी हो गया, कोई बात नहीं, चलो कोप अप कर लो. Because if you're not coping, it means you don't have those human traits of patience, sacrifice. Well, you need to compromise, sacrifice, have patience, all of that. But there are certain things which you don't need to cope with. You need to grow with them. Coping आपको comfort में डाल देता है कि चलो ये हो गया, आप acceptance में डाल देता है.
तो pain भी comfortable बन जाता है at some point.
That's it. Unresolved emotions पे कोई काम ही नहीं करना चाहता ना, अवनीश. People want to go on with unresolved emotions. फिर वही हो जाता है ना, mother tells the daughter, अरे मैंने भी तो ये सहा था मेरी सास का, आप भी कर लो. Workplace पर भी क्या होता है, अरे my first day was also bad. Please be able to do so. We are passing unresolved emotions, and we are making that an acceptance in our life overall.
So somewhere in this chapter I read कि if you keep taking the same road from your home to your workplace, you will never be able to explore other roads, other avenues. Technically, you won't expand your horizon or grow. One would ask this question: if that road has worked for me for so long, why should I take another road?
Anything in life that's making you comfortable, that's stopping your growth.
But it's also making me reach from point A to point B, which is my objective.
Absolutely.
Then why should I?
So you are only leaving for your objective, and that's what we say. You're not growing. आपने क्या grow कर लिया? आप रोज एक अच्छी सी सब्जी बना रहे हो. Every day as you've been complimented by your husband and by your children that you made a lovely आपने बहुत अच्छा खाना बनाया. But when you're trying a new dish, when you're cooking something new, you're exploring yourself. आपके emotions shift होते हैं. आप daily अगर एक ही चीज कर रहे हो, आपके emotions shift नहीं होते. So when there's a shift in your emotions, there is a shift in your mindset. That is the time you'll explore and you'll understand that probably than this was better. So you might get into something more better if you open yourself to more challenges, to being vulnerable, to being exploring. हम explore ही नहीं करना चाहते. आप रोज एक ही वेकेशन पे तो नहीं जाते हो ना. आप हर साल एक ही जगह चले जाते हो वेकेशन पर पैसा खर्च करके. वहाँ पे तो हम नहीं जाते. वहाँ पर we say we want to go to different places. We want to explore. That is life all about. So when life को भी आप उसमें just because आप पैसे नहीं खर्च कर आपको comfort में रहना है, certain stages it is there. I have lived that to myself, so I'm not going to pretend about it. But today when life threw me in different challenges, tab I realized, Avnish, there is so much more. What am I crying for? There is so much more in life to do, to enjoy, to explore in life overall. और ये चीज़ आपको तब एहसास होती है अगर आप एक चीज़ से निकलोगे. So today when people have to shift their house also, they say no मेरा house, this is very nice, I don't want to. But when maybe you shift your house, you realize that has better sunshine, that has better neighbors around you, that has better facilities around you, so you have to be open to change, adaptability. Life में आप ये नहीं कह सकते कि challenges नहीं आएंगे. Challenges हर मोड़ पर आते हैं. आप अपने आप को कितना adapt कर सकते हो, that shows your capability. Not saying there should not be challenges is not the solution. How you adapt, that's where life is all about. So you have to be open. आप रोज एक ही रास्ते से जा रहे हो, आप adapt नहीं हो रहे हो. You are comfortable, you're not adapting.
Also, like when I start comparing, कोई और दूसरे रास्ते से जा रहा है, that's where it becomes a little tricky, because if I don't know कि दूसरा रास्ता है, कोई ज़्यादा somebody is going faster or somebody is enjoying it and somebody is putting that enjoyment on social media, तभी मुझे एहसास होगा कि यार कुछ और भी interesting है. But that isn't that a little contradictory, because I will only know that I need to grow when I compare myself, or the trigger point of that comes with comparison or comes with understanding कि यार there are other people having other life experiences. Why am I only stuck with mine? If I didn't know that, why would I change? And a lot of people are stuck here. They don't know.
And that's where is awareness. That awareness क्या है? So something that you speak about, you talk about, तब आप लोगों को बताओगे why are you going from this route, you're going from this route, is because you're talking about it. When you talk, you bring awareness. So you are not comparing, you're getting yourself aware. So rather than saying that I'm comparing that she's going from that route, I will also go. I'm being aware because she brought me that awareness that that route has a better view, that route has more easier way to reach there. I get inspired. So people are copying others but not getting inspired. आप जब inspire होते हो ना तो आप वो चीज़ को अपने ढंग से करोगे. So she's going through that route, I will also go through that route. But if she's taking a rickshaw, I might want to walk that distance. So you are taking that route, but आपकी अपनी expertise को भी आप लेकर आते हो. Your essence in everything that you do in life, your essence has to be there. So rather than comparing, you use it another more positive word of that. I'm getting aware of what is there around me through other person talking about it. तो सोशल मीडिया पे जो हम देखते हैं अगर उसको हम अवेयरनेस में यूज करेंगे ना, rather than just trying to copy them and trying to compare, it will make us realize that there is so much more. Rather, it's only if you know to use the right terms, and along with the right terms, the right meaning. तो आप किसी के साथ इंस्पायर हो जाओ, आप किसी से अवेयरनेस लेकर आओ, वो बहुत पॉजिटिव चीज़ें हैं. बट आप किसी को कॉपी करो, आप किसी को कंपेयर करो, वो सब चीज़ें नेगेटिव है. Then you only following, so you become a follower. You don't become a leader. So when you get inspired or when you're aware, you are a leader. But when you copy, when you follow, you're just a follower.
You mentioned something very interesting, to give the right name to the feeling. Emotion. And especially when we talk about vulnerability, it's such a, everyone uses this word randomly and ऐसे होता है कि like, oh, I'm vulnerable. and I feel like, okay, fine, it's good to just be at that same place and call this out loud and give this an excuse to not be able to move, right? Why do you think it's important to articulate the right name for that feeling? And especially a lot of this is a very Instagram therapy, people are using this all across ki, it's okay to be vulnerable. The attachment styles have come out in such a big way. Now everyone's talking that language and everyone is self prescribing, right? So to really understand what it is and give it its right name, ये आपके चैप्टर में लिखा है आपने.
फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल लाइफ में कभी भी देयर इज नो सेल्फ प्रिस्क्रिप्शन. तो एज पेरेंट्स और एज लीडर्स और एज इवन एज प्रैक्टिशनर्स फ्रॉम मेंटल हेल्थ, आई कैन नॉट पुट अप एनी प्रिस्क्रिप्शन फॉर एनीबडी करके एक के साथ ही होता है तो दूसरे के साथ देयर इज नो, लाइफ डजंट कम विद एनी प्रिस्क्रिप्शन. इट थ्रोज यू इन एंड आउट. आपको कितना भी आप अवेयर हो जाओ, मेडिटेट कर लो, जब लाइफ हैज टू थ्रो यू, नो इट विल थ्रो यू, यू विल हैव नो वे टू. बट व्हेन यू टॉक अबाउट इमोशंस, हमें पता ही नहीं हम क्या फील कर रहे हैं. You are not sitting with yourself, you are not being uncomfortable, because when you sit with yourself, आपको thoughts awareness आती है, certain negative thoughts आते हैं, positive thoughts आते हैं. Usually it is fearful, anxiety, सब कुछ आता है, because when you are alone, that is the time you are trying to process mentally what is around you, how did your day go today. तो उसमें सारी अच्छी चीज़ें नहीं आती है, कुछ challenges भी आते हैं. आपको वो ही नहीं पता कि आपके साथ क्या हो रहा है. So when you go to a doctor also, what do you say physically? Doctor मुझे कुछ हो रहा है. That doctor will start the first question. कब से हो रहा है? कल से हो रहा है? कुछ खाया था? रात को सोए कि नहीं? So the doctor is putting questions and then you are answering because you don't have your awareness. आपको पता ही नहीं कि आपने कल क्या खाया था, आप सोए थे कि नहीं. So before the doctor asks, can you tell everything, that first 5 things what you need to be saying? इमोशंस भी वही हो जाते हैं ना. तो हम फिजिकल हेल्थ पे तो ध्यान देते हैं, इमोशनल हेल्थ पे तो देयर इज नो डिस्कशन अबाउट इमोशनल हेल्थ. यू आर टेकिंग ऑल दैट रबिश इनसाइड यू एंड you are not even trying to be aware of how you are feeling. If I'm feeling anxiety right now, there is a reason. If I'm feeling nervous, so am I feeling nervous or am I feeling anxiety? So when I came here, of course I was nervous, and that's a very positive side. अगर मैं बहुत ओवर कॉन्फिडेंस से वॉक इन करती, मुझे तो सारा ज्ञान है, अवनीश ऐसे क्या पूछ लेगा. So that was something which is negative, that says about my over confidence. But if I come with that kind of nervousness, that I just hope I can answer all Navnish's questions, that's a very humble way. That's nervousness, and वो होना भी चाहिए. When you are in love, आपको बराबर पता है ना कि ये लव का इमोशन का नाम लव है. So all those young people when they are in love, that is a complete description of love का वो इमोशन क्या होना चाहिए. But what are you feeling? Your sadness. Is every feeling of sadness depression? No, it is not. So depression आज चलते फिरते हमने बहुत एक लोकल लैंग्वेज बना दी है. तो आप अपने इमोशन को अगर ठीक से टर्म नहीं करोगे, if you don't know what is your illness, how are you going to take care of it?
Doctor will treat a symptom.
Exactly.
बुखार है तो वो एक मेजरमेंट है कि थर्मोमीटर है, बट इसके लिए थर्मोमीटर नहीं है, because you can't really.
You're in a compass.
I sometimes keep trying to understand this कि how do I articulate what I'm feeling within my heart? उसका बुखार तो नहीं आता है, फ्रैक्चर हो गया तो बोन टूटता है. It's all there's data, there's visual data, there's confirmation bias there, right? Tangible है. But with emotions, you can't place where it is in your body, correct? So I think people really don't know how to categorize their pain. What is it, and then थोड़ा sadness आया, anxiety आई है कि अरे चलो I'm depressed, and then that becomes a coping mechanism, and then you start avoiding your things and you're just coping, and then this cycle keeps repeating, and then you are stuck, you don't grow.
Because expression ही नहीं ना. आज today what I loved about this thing, I don't say this because I'm in front of you, but this is something I told Pranoti also over the phone. आप लोग जब ये word conversation use करते हो ना, I love that. आज के डेट में कोई कम्युनिकेट भी नहीं करे, कॉन्वर्सेशन तो बहुत दूर की बात रही. सो व्हेन यू डोंट एक्सप्रेस, अगर आप एक्सप्रेशन, और एक्सप्रेशन कैन बी वर्बल, कैन बी रिटन, देयर आर वेज हाउ यू एक्सप्रेस. लोगों के पास टाइम ही नहीं एक्सप्रेस करने का,
या टाइम नहीं है, या पीपल आर स्कैर्ड. लाइक इफ आई एम वल्नरेबल, से मुझे आज बताना है कि यार आई एम नॉट हैविंग अ गुड डे, मुझे सोशल मीडिया पे डालना है कि आई एम गोइंग क्रेजी फॉर एग्जाम्पल. अब मेरे को ऐसे लगता है कि यार व्हाई शुड आई डू इट? पीपल आर गोइंग टू जज मी. I wear a badge of honor, that a badge of like, okay, I'm strong and I'm a certain way and a certain positioning and I've got this experience, and how can I show that I'm vulnerable? Same with maybe expressing with your parents or your loved ones. Why is vulnerability so scary?
We need to make it more normalized because people are not talking about their challenges. आज वो चीज़ों को हम कहीं पे surface पे लाते ही नहीं है because nobody wants to talk sad feelings. Laughing photos, family photos, vacation सब Instagram पर आ जाता है. But आप जब आपको sadness feel होती है, आप लिखते हो कि आपको sadness feel हो रही है. Are you trying to take sympathy or are you trying to say bring it an awareness? So today when I talk about my trauma, I don't need sympathy. I've never been a woman of sympathy from anybody, not even from my sisters. But today when I talk about it is because to bring awareness कि this happens in life. ये आपको कोई बोलता नहीं है, बड़ी होती है चीज़ें आपके साथ. तो अगर हम expression को अगर हम awareness पर लाते ही नहीं है तो how you cannot blame people around you because ये चीज़ों को हम expression पे लाते ही नहीं है. We want to see everybody strong. आज हमारे parents cannot go weak. माँ बाप कैसे गलती कर सकते हैं? उनको तो सब कुछ आना चाहिए. How can they not handle? Are they not human beings? Can we not forgive our parents for something they never knew?
You know,
sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, it just came in my mind, and I keep talking about this with my friends. Like, you know, men, for example, men and showing affection and crying and showing that they can also really express. It's always been like, yaar, you know, friend में बोलते यार, why are you crying? क्यों कर रहा है ऐसे? For me, I think that narrative definitely should change. What is the harm of someone crying or sharing emotion or being their most authentic self without gender biasness? Why is it categorized that okay, only one type has to express a certain way, and men, and today I see that men restrict themselves so much because they are scared कि मेरे group में I will be called out, I will be the one who is
not acceptable, weaker person.
Yes, a weaker person, an emotional person, a crazy person. You know, this needs to be articulated because I feel men are beautiful when they express also, and I have had a hard time navigating it within myself. For so many years I thought that, you know, this is something which you have to only battle and sit with yourself. If you go out there in the world, people will take advantage of your vulnerability, of your niceness, or all of that, right? The narrative needs to change that it's okay because you have to first, you know, resolve it within yourself and set an example to other people to just express without overthinking it, right? And I don't mean to divide it between a woman and a man. I'm just generally seeing a lot of men hold back and a lot of women also holding back. Hence the whole thing of addressing your putting a name to your sadness, putting a name to your feelings, true vulnerability, you know. All of this in today's social media world of judgment and facades, extremely important.
Men and women के जो emotions है ना अवनीश, I think this is something which is not correctly put across, and this is over the years. Women like men who are vulnerable. If there are two men in front of a woman to choose from, one is a very strong one who says, I can do everything, and there's another man who's real, who's emotional, who's, you know, vulnerable. A woman with a heart, with empathy, will always want to choose the second one. The problem is men gives men another tough time. One man will, so ये जो male की जो community है ना, इन्होंने ही आपस में, it's not the woman is not accepting the men, it is the men not accepting another man, because ये जो हमारी patriarchal society है ना, कि उसमें तो बोले तलवारें तो खाली आदमी निकालता है. So that is the job. How can you have a tissue paper and cry? That's not a very manly thing to do. तो ये जो manly चीजें है ना, ये आदमियों को बहुत depressed कर देता है. So men suffer more emotionally than women do. Out of 10 men, you will see 9 men suffering, and out of 10 women, you will see 1 woman suffering, because women express. आप पूछो नहीं बोलो, woman will express herself चलते फिरते, and that's why they become like overrated. You know, women's problems is always seen. Men struggle, Avnish. There are more suicides of men than women. Illness of depression is more with men than women. But ये चीज़ों को हम surface पे लाते ही नहीं है. And that's the challenge in the workplace, because the workplace is dominated by men. Men do not show emotions. तो सारे आपके जो CEO है, what is it? It's a facade. What are they doing? They are trying to show we are strong. तो आप अपनी junior team को भी वही pass on करते हो. तो वो बेचारा जाके जब वो senior level पर बैठता है, उसको लगता है मुझे भी यही करना है. Emotion नहीं दिखाना है, statistics की बात करनी है. There's nothing as emotional intelligence in workplace, and that's where I want to bring a challenge. कि why are we not talking emotions where work is concerned? कहाँ पे problem है of talking about emotions? Because the industry is dominated by men. आप वुमेन्स का डिपार्टमेंट देख लो, उसमें आप इमोशंस को देखो. सो दिस इज समथिंग विच मेन हैव टू चेंज इन दैट, एंड दैट इज इट इज अगेन नॉट अ जेंडर कंप्लेंट. आई हैव नेवर बीन अ फेमिनिस्ट. आई हैव ऑलवेज वर्कड अराउंड men, and I think I gel rather more with men's company. They talk intellectual, because women's कितनी बार emotions में बह जाती है. You know, they can go deep. Men know where to draw. Rather, men become too solid and not doing it. The real thing is draw boundaries, and emotion का sensitivity से different है. Sensitivities का हर छोटी चीज पे रोने बैठे. Like today, if we're talking about my parents, and again if I start crying, it is still okay. But if I keep on crying throughout the interview right now, that's not been emotionally intelligent and regulated. तो आप भी डर जाओ कि आप उसे क्या सवाल पूछोगे कि तो she starts crying. So you have to process your emotions in the right way, regulate them. Okay, after that, when you talk about that, it touches your heart. But sensitivity should not happen in that sense that you start crying and you cannot, handle your own emotions. अपने आप emotions को handle तो करो. And that comes with time. It doesn't happen overnight. You work on yourself. That's why we say she's a strong woman. What is a strong woman? The strong woman is somebody who's gone through hard time the most in this world.
ये very interesting, because we always keep calling certain people who we look up to, oh, this is a strong man, this is a strong woman. Being strong is always taken as suppressing your emotion, sadness, and coming out of it to do your life tasks or to be there for others. So it's automatically imprinted in your perception that being strong means not being vulnerable.
Feel नहीं होना चाहिए कुछ भी.
Exactly.
I couldn't feel anything.
But is this a, like आपने starting में बोला कि you are a workaholic, and in that phase you just wanted to work, and I see so many people in my earlier organization also, under the excuse of work, you are actually running away from yourself.
Reality.
Right? In everyday life, like sometimes we can't sit with ourselves, so we start picking up habits, whether it is drinking too much coffee, smoking, drinking, overcompensation behavior, because if all the noise is shut, I am very uncomfortable, and that's why I want to work, I want to read, I always want to be stimulated in my mind. Is this how work it is according to you, or is there a different way through your book what you want to tell the audience?
सेल्फ वर्थ भी कहा जाता है ना. हमारे यहाँ पर क्या है, जितना आप काम करते हो, जितने घंटे आप काम करते हो, your hours means your self worth. Very busy person, the minute you tell somebody I'm very busy, अरे self worth, important person है. What do mothers also want to do? The mothers are constantly trying to impress their child by being constantly doing everything, so the child feels, oh my mother is sacrificing so much. आप क्या कर रहे हो अपने बच्चे के ऊपर? आप suppress कर रहे हो अपने बच्चे को, because your child is not been able to say something thinking my mother is very busy, how can I go and tell? Why are we trying to show that to our child? अगर आपने दो चीजें घर में नहीं की, it is okay, but are you being able to be available for your child when they want to come and talk to you? तो वहाँ से आपका childhood start होता है ना. तो like my mom would be with 5 children, she would always be hands-on and doing multiple things, and we sisters would at times be afraid to go and tell that to our mom also, because she had so much to do. But today, if you have one child and you have a choice of choosing between your housework and giving time to your child, rather choose that one, no? Because आप एक upbringing कर रहे हो. So today self-worth भी एक हो जाता है. You correctly said, Avnish, it's a way, again, it's a defense mechanism. आप बैठना ही नहीं चाहते. Like, because I was not married, because I had only parents at home, so and work was something which brought me, I also questioned myself, as you correctly said, was it running away from my reality? But then today I feel अगर वो reality आज भी होती तो मैं आज भी वही करती. Today I have a choice to live life, but I enjoy work.
Right.
It brings out, it's my passion, so it brings out my talent. So talent can be also playing guitar, it doesn't have to be work. हम passion को transactional बना देते हैं जहाँ पर money is concerned. So if you're earning money, it means you're doing a meaningful job. But you could also be going for a walk, you could also be seeing sunset. That's also passion, but उसमें पैसे नहीं मिलते ना, तो वो चीज़ आप दिखाना नहीं चाहते हो. That is something that you don't take pride into. So you take pride because there is a transactional of money coming in, and then you say, okay, this is my worth. हम पैसे से एक इंसान को जज करने लगे हैं. So today your money becomes a reason of your recognition.
Right.
What is the brand you are wearing, and that's where the young children are losing themselves now. Avnish, what is happening? What are we doing to the society? I don't see leaders in future. I'm sorry, because leader क्या होता है? आपको कौन सी इंस्टीट्यूट resilience सिखाती है? कौन सी इंस्टीट्यूट आपको इंटीग्रिटी सिखाती है? तो आज के बच्चे एट एज ऑफ 20-22 दे वांट टू बी एंटरप्रेन्योर्स. आपके पास रेजिलियंस कहाँ से? आपने किसी के अंडर में काम नहीं किया, आपको कैसे पता झुक के काम करना क्या होता है? यू हैव टू टेक इंस्ट्रक्शन. आप उनको एक इंस्ट्रक्शन दो, अवनीश, दे विल नॉट टेक इट. इट गोज अगेंस्ट देयर सेल्फ वर्थ. किसी को मैम और सर भी बोला ना, उनके लिए तो बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज हो जाता है. दे फील इट इज पुटिंग देमसेल्फ डाउन एंड पुटिंग द अदर पर्सन आउट. अगर हमने इनको सर बोल दिया, मैडम बोल दिया तो. सो टुडेज generation, I would always suggest that they first have an experience of an employee. जब आप एक employee बनते हो ना अवनीश, आप instructions लेने का सीखते हो. You work with the team. You learn to work with the team. You understand the coordination that happens. तो अगर आप सभी अगर entrepreneurs बनना चाहेंगे at the age of 22, 23, which is great, you are not facing challenges.
It's like there's a song which is called "Everybody Wants to Rule the World."
Yeah.
But everybody wants to rule the world, but no one wants to be ruled. तो बैठेगा कैसे इक्वेशन? सारे अगर एंटरप्रेन्योर्स बनेंगे तो एम्प्लॉइज मतलब काम कौन करेगा उस
एंटरप्रेन्योर्स? In a very humble way I say this, we feel organizations make leaders. I am sorry, it is the leaders who make the organization. तो आज कोई भी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, कोई भी ब्रांड का आप नाम ले लो, अगर उनको लगता है कि वो लीडर्स बनाते हैं, then I'm extremely sorry. It is the leaders who make the organization.
I think one thing which we can, conclude in a certain way is that, and I brought it up initially, that leadership is not just about, some people are born with it. होता है genetic, you can't remove the genetic part of it. Some people learn with experience. But at the end of the day, everyone has a choice, whether you are genetically born or it's a skill, acquired skill or whatever. Everyone has that choice to be a leader. Whether you are being a CEO or whether you are just another person who is, leadership क्या है? It's accountability, it's empowerment, it's empathy, it's understanding how delegation works, how teamwork happens, right? It's showing, it's not showing your own superpower, it's showing other people's superpower. ये भी एक काफी myth होती है कि इंडिया में you come to a point where after so many years of working, it's like that final validation कि आज मैं CEO बना हूँ, so I want to show how powerful I am. But it's also the other way, right? You are a leader to show other people's superpowers, to bring their superpowers in play which they cannot see. It is that empathy, it is that empowerment, right? So ये point, I think, for all our listeners and everyone here,
titles don't make leaders, and this is a reality.
I think that's a very nice point. Titles don't make leaders.
अगर सारे parents are not good parents ना Avnish, I'm sorry to say, biologically parents are not good parents always. I'm very sorry to say this, and this is a reality of life. So you can't say because I'm a parent, I'm great because I'm a parent. No, are you really doing the parenting that you need to do?
Right.
CEO तो बहुत सारे मिल जाएंगे, CEO सारे मिल जाएंगे, सभी लीडर्स है क्या? There's a difference between authority, leader and seniors. ये तीन चीज़ अगर आपको डिफरेंस समझ में आए ना, हमें क्या लगता है जिसके भी अंडर में टीम है वो लीडर है. सिंपल कर दिया, जिसके भी अंडर में टीम है, रिपोर्टिंग टीम है, दैट बिकम्स अ लीडर. लीडर हैज़ नथिंग टू डू विथ टाइटल. आपको कितना भी बड़ा टाइटल मिल जाए, वरना तो हर लीडर का बच्चा लीडर होता है ना, सारे ओनर्स के बच्चे भी तो लीडर होते हैं ना, कहाँ दिखते हैं आपको? सो लीडरशिप अगर घर में ही सिखाया जाता लीडरशिप, तो लीडरशिप इज नॉट समथिंग विच कम्स टू यू और इट्स पास्ड ऑन विद जनरेशन ऑल्सो. इट इज़ योर इनबिल्ट क्वालिटी. तो आप कितनी भी बड़ी लीडरशिप के इंस्टीट्यूट पे आप लाखों रुपए खर्च कर लो, क्या सभी लीडर्स बने? इट्स नॉट अ मैन्युफैक्चरिंग. लीडरशिप इज नॉट मैन्युफैक्चरिंग द वे वी मेक इट टुडे. Leadership talks about resilience, it talks about integrity, it talks about challenges, it talks about putting your team before you. It is not taking the credit. So I tell people, your leadership के लिए अगर आपको titles चाहिए ना, don't rush in your 20s, in your 30s, because that is the time you're looking for recognition. You're looking for acknowledgement. And I'm very sorry to say, जब आप leader बनते हो ना, आपको ना recognition मिलती है, ना appreciation मिलता है, ना acknowledgement मिलता है. आप उसके बिना भी lead कर सकते हो क्या? टुडेज जनरेशन तो एक भी चीज करेगी ना, सोशल मीडिया पे अवार्ड डाल देते कि ये मिला है करके. वी स्पेंड आवर एंटायर लाइफ विदाउट बीइंग सीन, हर्ड, नोन, एंड दैट इज समथिंग. कैन यू डू द सेम विदाउट बीइंग सीन? आप अकेले में वही चीज करते हो क्या? दैट इज कॉल्ड योर लीडरशिप. कि आप अपनी टीम को शाइन करवाना चाहते हो कि आप दिखना चाहते हो. सो इन एवरीथिंग इफ यू आर टेकिंग द क्रेडिट, लीडर्स डोंट टेक क्रेडिट. अवनीश, लीडर्स डोंट टेक क्रेडिट, दे लीव अ लेगेसी. लेगेसी इज नॉट योर प्रॉपर्टी. लेगेसी इज द काइंड ऑफ वर्क, द वैल्यूज दैट यू लीव बिहाइंड, कि सालों साल तक आपकी टीम आपको याद करके बोले कि मैंने इनसे सीखा था. दिस इज द पर्सन हु टॉट मी दिस. दैट्स कॉल्ड लीडरशिप. तो टाइटल के बाद भी लीडर लीडर ही रहता है. एंड दिस इज समथिंग आई स्ट्रगल्ड आफ्टर माई लीडरशिप एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ 27 years. When I lost my title, and that was a challenge, that was another reason why I went to depression. I said, oh gosh, leadership has been my passion. अब मैं leader नहीं रही क्या? मेरे पास team नहीं रही. I was like a little girl at that stage of life also. And then when I went inward, I said, Pinky, lead title ने कब आपको leadership बनाया?
Fantastic point. Does leadership require a team? I don't think so. You can.
I can challenge
team
that
is a part. If it comes, but leadership can be. Your team is the world. Technically, if you look at it, like if I am empowered as a leader, all the people around are my teammates. Technically, even if I don't know them, right? And I think that's a very beautiful distinction for people to understand that leadership is not about having a team.
And it's not a title and it's not a team. I think 3 years on my social media, I have been able to bring that kind of a mindset of people around without having my own team. You know, the same चीज जो मैं पहले करती थी, and that's where my confidence came in, that without an organization, without a title, without a team, I am doing the same replica work of influencing people, bringing awareness, and rather teaching the new path. I'm creating a new path for others to walk. That's leadership.
And one thing which is not really spoken about, leadership is always work related. What about leadership in relationships? You know, technically that also is understanding conflict, it stems from your self-sufficient.
Family
you have taken.
में आपको leadership दिखाई देगी. So not necessarily father has to be a leader. A mother can also be a leader. Out of 4 siblings, 1 sibling can be a leader, or probably whole family doesn't. Nobody has a leadership. A coconut water guy can also be a leader. तो जो इंसान रिस्क उठाता है, जो अपनी सोच के साथ चलता है, who's been able to experiment new things, create new things. Leaders create. They are authentic. You don't mind saying, and then that's the thing, that leaders need to be authentic. हमने leadership को बहुत perfection में डाल दिया है कि they need to have all the answers. तो इसमें leaders have started faking कि हमें leadership title तो मिल गया, अब leadership को fake करना पड़ेगा. सारे answers मिलने चाहिए, बहुत strong behave करना चाहिए, vacation पे नहीं जाना चाहिए, सब कुछ we have to show we are the sacrificing one. टीम को लगता है अगर हम leader बने हमें भी यही चीजें करनी है. And we are passing the generations of unresolved emotions, unhappiness, life that people have not lived, and today's generation is challenging us in that, Avnish. They are saying we will live life, we will join classes, and yet we will work. Work is a part of their life, it is not their life. और ये चीज़ को बहुत गलत ले लेते हैं. विसे अरे काम करो वरना ज़िंदगी में आगे कैसे बढ़ोगे. उनको आगे बढ़ने के लिए बहुत सारी चीज़ें करनी है. We didn't have choice. We only had one path to go. So that was fine. We did it that time. But today's generation, but yes, I would always suggest that they need to understand leadership before talking about, you know, leadership के बारे में बात तो बहुत कर लेते हैं. सारे आज तो बहुत सारे इंस्टीट्यूट्स आ गए who teach leadership. अगर इतना आसान होता leadership, तो आपकी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में अगर आपको लगता है ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन लीडर्स बनाती है तो आप 100 लीडर खड़े करके दिखा दो, गिन के आपकी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में 1 या 2 लीडर मिलेंगे, यू नो, बिकॉज लीडरशिप की एक अपनी क्वालिटी रहती है, आपका एक रिस्क टेकिंग रहता है, आपका एक ऑथेंटिक सेल्फ रहता है, योर लव फॉर योर टीम, you know, how much you love your team like your children's. बोलना तो बहुत आसान है, I don't distinguish between my employees and my children. When the time comes, what do you do? You know, so those are the things that can you selflessly love your team? Can you be there for them in that challenge? बहुत सारी चीज़ें होती हैं. तो people pleasing ना, that's what I've written also. पीपल प्लीजिंग में ही लीडर्स अपने आप को खो देते हैं. 4 आपके आसपास ऐसे लोग आ जाते हैं, सर आपने तो कितना अच्छा बोला, सर आपने तो बहुत अच्छा किया, वाओ, ओके, आई एम ग्रेट, दैट बिकम्स माय फेवरेट पर्सन. आर यू बीन एबल टू टेक नेगेटिविटी? हैज योर टीम मेंबर हैव द करेज? आर दे एम्पावर्ड टू टेल यू समथिंग रियल ऑन योर फेस दैट आई एम सॉरी, दिस वाज नॉट टू बी डन दिस वे सर, वी विल प्रेफर वी डोंट डू इट दिस वे? दैट्स द टीम मेंबर यू नीड, अवनीश. यू नीड रियल फीडबैक्स ही कहाँ थे? वी ओनली वांट टू लिसन टू व्हाट वी want to. तो टीम बहुत स्मार्ट होती है इसमें. They'll pick up exactly what you want to listen to, and that people pleasing leaders, they sink badly.
So I think to conclude, becoming emotionally aware, sitting with yourself, really understanding where you are in your life, वो भी एक important है. आपके लाइफ टास्क क्या है, आप कौन से स्टेज में हो आपके लाइफ में, उसकी अंडरस्टैंडिंग, उसके हिसाब से आप कैसे काम करते हो. हाउ डू यू like if you're just starting out in your career, dynamics will be very different.
Totally.
You know, money will become important, for example.
Totally.
You know, certain set of validation, stages of life.
Stages of life.
Which stage you are in your life,
awareness,
act according to that stage, understand what duties and tasks you need to do for that stage, yet keep your anchor pretty solid and keep evolving within, and don't leave that. कभी-कभी ये भी लगता है ना, it's a little spiritual, कि you have to leave everything to get spiritual awakening.
Spirituality is very important, Avnish, and that has nothing to do with age. 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, there's nothing but spirituality को एक लोग बहुत एक थोड़ा नेगेटिव भी ले लेते हैं कि spirituality means no fire, surrender. अच्छा हमने तो जिंदगी देख ली, माने fire नहीं, aspirations नहीं होने चाहिए. Spirituality tells you have your inner fire, you have aspirations, but you understand the reality and then you want to move. You have aspirations, आप desires में नहीं रहते हो, आप aspirations में रहते हो. There's a difference. For aspirations you work towards it. Desire तो बैठ के तो मैं तो सब कुछ बन जाऊँ ना, but when your aspirations are there, you know you have to work towards that path. So that is your spirituality will bring. So I suggest that part of spirituality for everybody. It's so essential because that keeps you grounded. So when I also went through challenges, spirituality helped me a lot to be where I am today, to bring that kind of an understanding and that awareness of life, what it was. And something that you just said, that we are just going on, is that's why we need to pause. Life में pause तो हम समझते ही नहीं है ना. One after the other chapters, pause करोगे तब समझ में आएगा कि ज़िंदगी कहाँ ले जा रही है, हम क्या गलत करें. Even your personal relationships. So I give a lot of importance to. I've always been a person of relationships, Avnish. If I am with somebody, I'll associate completely. Otherwise, I will not. I cannot be half-hearted. प्यार किया तो दिल खोलकर 100%, नहीं किया तो फिर नहीं किया. And transparent. But I don't know how to do 50%, 40%. वहाँ से 50% मिला. That's not transaction. There's no calculations. So that's where people need to understand that when your relationships में भी अगर आप pause करके देखोगे ना कि आपके partner के साथ आपका पार्टनर उधर भाग रहा है, आप इधर भाग रहे हो, तो what is a common? You need to have different identity altogether, but there has to be something commonness,
right,
to bring us together with your children, with your parents, with your colleagues, with every relationship. Are you pausing to understand what are they feeling? आप pause करोगे तो आपको अपने feelings समझ में कि how I feel about you. If I'm not feeling good about you, why should I meet you the second time? Why should I give you hopes? Why should I do things? So when people are there with feelings, with pause आपको बहुत awareness में लाता है. Your business also, if you're running, आप 4 स्टोर खोल रहे हो, but उसके बाद is it the right thing that you want to still do, or because you want to just do a tick mark?
Right.
So pause helps you overall in life. वो कब आता है awareness pause का? जब आपने एक जिंदगी का ठहरावा 20-30s में तो एक्सपेक्ट ही नहीं करना चाहिए. That is a stage we are running. Full century में हम खेल रहे हैं बैठ के, माने 1 ball 2 ball तो खेलना ही नहीं है. Full century we want to play now, completely.
Awesome. So I think we've come to the conclusion of this amazing conversation.
Glad.
If anyone has any questions, we can address them.
I'll be happy to. Yeah.
Or we can just have a general conversation, because this is how our conversations are always very informal. But before that, I think this book is also available online.
It's there with Amazon, in international and India both. And just a little declaration to make. It's not any emotional selling, but all the collection of this profits of this book is going to the cancer children's in a Mumbai hospital, and that's my way of giving back, because I've been associated with cancer children since last 6 years by now,
right?
In some way. So that's not an emotional selling, but it's just a small declaration about overall.
So awesome. Thank you so much for this conversation.
And the books are here to buy today also, and this book MRP is $5.99, but if somebody is buying today, we are selling at $5.50, so we can do that also.
The mastery isn't in suppression, it's in awareness. We can leave on that note.
Feel very comfortable to explore, express your emotions without feeling the judgment. Anyways, whatever you do, people will always judge you, Avnish. Good, bad, worst. We only. अब सबसे पहले कोई इंसान सामने आता है तो हम उसका weight देखते हैं. अच्छा weight put on किया, weight loss किया. अच्छे लग रहे, बुरे लग रहे. You are not seeing how that person is feeling within. If you start understanding that where that person is coming from in life, and that's the reason you need to express, you need to talk, because you need to help people to know where you are coming from, so we create better understanding. Otherwise, as I said, childhood trauma भी तो एक defense mechanism ही हो जाता है ना.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Pleasure was all mine. Thank you so much. I actually felt at home.
Yeah, great.
Great. Thank you so much, everybody. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.